Hello, welcome back. Once again, I have taken a massive break and have ignored my scheduling uploads, but I will try and be back and try and be better. I'm coming back now with a video I've been wanting to make for a good couple of weeks, and it's going to be part my sort of love-hate relationship at the moment with my club, and the main topic of this is being academies with football. So the main plot to this is obviously seeing just how absolutely ridiculous Tottenham have been recently. We went on a run of losing 3 or 4 Premier League games in a row to then playing Manchester City, beating them 3-2, then losing to Burnley, then beating Leeds, and then losing to Middlesbrough as of a couple of days ago. Being a Tottenham fan is one of the worst experiences of my life. Would I change it? No, and I keep saying I'm never going to, I'll give it up, but you know what, I cannot. But it shows the polarising differences of the club like as it is now. You know, you can go from beating the best team in England in City and then going to Burnley on a cold, wet Wednesday evening and losing, to then playing Leeds a couple of days after they got beaten by Man United on one of the worst pitches ever seen in the Premier League, and then going to Middlesbrough and not getting a result in the FA Cup. And what winds me up about the whole thing is looking at the Middlesbrough game. We went in with the exact same team that we played Leeds with, which was the correct thing to do. We weren't playing for another 6 days or 5 or 6 days after that because we're not playing Everton until Monday night. So it was easily enough time for the players to rest up, and it was just made apparent yet again and again and again is that the midfield just has no creative balance in it. As much as I love Wings and as much as I love Højbjerg, they are so bipolar players. Like, they can either have amazing games, like they did against Leeds. They tore Leeds apart. Like, Wings' passing against Leeds was fantastic. His passing against Middlesbrough was diabolical. Højbjerg has, as me and my dad have now quoted him, Mr. Pointy Man, because when you watch Højbjerg in the game, he's always pointing at someone. He's always pointing to do something. And don't get me wrong, that's a good sign of a leader. But then he doesn't back it up himself. He's telling other people to do stuff that he's then not going to do himself. And it's clear, I think, to all Tottenham fans that when we signed Bentancur, we didn't think he'd be a world beater straight away, and he proved when he's first couple of games and stuff like that, when he's doing ball rolls and stuff like that in his own box and stuff like that, and setting up attacks, he's the right man for it. But the main problem with that midfield at the moment is we haven't had a certain 21-year-old Englishman in Oliver Skipp. Now, I argue with my friends about this, that if he stays fit and continues to perform at the levels he was at before he got injured, he could be in the England team come the World Cup. When he hasn't played, you look at the records when we have had him and when we haven't had him, and it is night and day. Skipp adds so much. Skipp, in my opinion, is our prime Kante. And I'm not going to say Kante now because I don't think Kante is as good as he was. Sorry. But Skipp is that person for us. He's not, starting attacks. But he's the person. He's that powerhouse in that midfield that he's everywhere. 1 minute he's on the right, then he's on the left, then he's in the middle, then he's at the back, then he's going forward, then he's picking the ball up, then he's tackling. He is everywhere. And I tell you what, when Kante was at his prime, no one likes playing against him. And right now, without Skipp, we haven't got that busybody. And when we finally get the day, and I tell you what, I don't think it's going to happen against Everton. We know that Bentancur is back in training, so there's a very, very good chance that he'll be playing Monday night. But we don't know about Skipp yet. And honest to God, I would pay the FA, pay the drugs people and everything, a substantial amount of money, pump him with whatever drugs he needs and everything to get him back now, because I guarantee a midfield duo of Skipp, who will be the workhorse and will be everywhere, and allowing Bentancur to just get the ball, go forward and start attacks, we will be a much better team. And what I need from Conte is this, and you're not going to listen because I'm never going to end up to you, but when a player isn't performing in a game, you have to drop him, no matter who the player is. And I'm talking about Son. This happens every single season. Son is one of the best players on the planet right now. And he will get into every single team in the world. That is hands down, not a boast, not a brag. Literally, he will. But the problem with Son is he has so many spells where he is just poor. And it could be, against City was fantastic. Against Burnley was terrible. Against Leeds, he was very, very quiet up until the fact he scored the goal. And against Middlesbrough, he was awful. And I tell you what, I know we didn't have Lucas Moura on the bench against Middlesbrough, but we did have Bergwijn. Why wasn't the front three then going forward after, say, 50, 60 minutes, after Son had missed about 16 different chances? Why was it not Dejan on the right, Bergwijn on the left, with Kane down the middle? And even at that point, when we did eventually bring Scarlett on, which is the main topic of this video, why was it then not like a 4-2-2-2 or 4-4-2 situation with... Why wasn't Dejan kept on and Bergwijn either side of the two strikers? It baffled me. Conte has been ruthless to an extent with some of his plays, but he needs to be more ruthless within that. He looks like he's kind of settling on Doherty as a right wing back, which I'm perfectly fine with. He's definitely improved this second half of the season over Emerson Royale. But the one thing I would pray for Conte is you need to stop bringing him on in games he's not needed. He came on against Middlesbrough and did absolutely nothing. He came on against Leeds and did absolutely nothing. I'm pretty certain he came on against Burnley and did nothing. And I think he even came on or even started against City and again did absolutely nothing. He's not improving as a player and he's not making the club better for it. But Doherty, he took his goal against Leeds very, very well. He should have scored twice against Middlesbrough but didn't. But he's improving with that. And on likewise with that, you look at someone like Sessegnon, who is statistically, he's been very troubled at Tottenham. He has become night and day a better player than he was. And it's brilliant to watch and to see that progression with him. He's getting more and more confident, which I'm happy with, because he's keeping someone like Reguilon, who's very much a fan favourite at Tottenham, out of the team. So that is all I would implore. He's been ruthless with his wing-backs. He needs to be ruthless with the front players as well. Right now, Lloris is undroppable because Galini isn't good enough. Romero is undroppable. Dyer is undroppable. When he's fit, obviously Bentancur is undroppable. Kane's probably undroppable to a point, and at the moment Decky is undroppable as well. Son just needs to... remember last season he was scoring... I think he had 14, 15 goals by the first half of the season, and then he didn't score in 11 games. And that's the problem with Son, is he has these spells where he just stops performing, and it's evident to see that as well. So that is all I want from a Tottenham side of things. The main issue I have with everything at the moment is the whole academy situation. Now, a few months ago, Arsenal pleaded with the Premier League to have the game against Tottenham postponed because they didn't have enough players. Now, years ago, I think I did a video on this, you used to be able to just take the players from your reserves and your youth team, play them in the squad, and that'll be done. But for some reason, because of COVID and everything, suddenly you can now just postpone games willy-nilly. But the problem I have with it is clubs nowadays aren't looking at their academies more unless they're forced to. And I say that with one team in mind, in Chelsea. When they got banned from having any transfer activity, they were forced to play Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount, Tomori and Reece James. Now look at them now. Tomori is tearing up with AC Milan. Tammy Abraham is ruining defences with Roma. And Mount and James are first team starters every single week for Chelsea when they're fit. You look at Arsenal, who gave opportunities to Saka and Smith Rowe, and the kids took it and run with it. Martinelli to an extent as well. Maybe he's not an academy player, but he was a young player given opportunity and he ran with it. You look at Manchester United with Rashford and a certain masonry character. And at this point as well, Anthony Elanga. They are young players that were given an opportunity and they ran with it. And look at them now. Barcelona have always been in that vein as well. You look at the players that come through La Masia. The last couple of years, obviously, Ansu Fati being the main one. This season alone, with Nico Gonzalez, Gavi, Ezabde, Ferran Atalujo, there's been so many players that are in these academies, and they were given opportunities because of the players around them, being unfit and stuff like that. But with Tottenham, it infuriates me because we're always known as being a club that utilises its academy a lot and giving young players a chance. But I'm going to be honest with you, the last manager that truly gave youth an opportunity, unfortunately for Tottenham, was Tim Sherwood. Because if it wasn't for Tim Sherwood, Nabil Bentaleb wouldn't have been the player probably is nowadays. I know that's not saying much. Ryan Mason would have never have made it as a main character, and we wouldn't have ever seen Harry Kane, because at the point when Sherwood was taking over, Harry Kane was an afterthought and was quite literally, I think, about to be sold to either Leicester or Norwich until he gave him an opportunity. He had world strikers in Soldado and Adebayor, and he wanted to play this young lad. And now look at it, that's obviously paid off. Obviously Mason unfortunately had to retire, but he's now back at Tottenham. Bentaleb is, been playing at the top part of football, whether it's been in the Prem, he's been in Germany. He's the last manager that truly gave Tottenham players, a way into, academy players, a way into the first team. And I don't want to hear what Mourinho did, because all Mourinho did was just play him in the Europa League. He gave Marcel Lavinia a game. Malachi Fagan Walcott, Niall John, all these young players, but they've never moved from that. Last season as well, he gave debuts to Dane Scarlett and Alfie Devine. They both played in the FA Cup match against Marine. Devine scored, became the youngest scorer in Tottenham's history, and all he's done is just stayed in the youth team. Now, look, I get keeping them safe. I get not wanting to expose them too early, but Alfie Devine has been likened in Tottenham ranks to being like the next Lampard, Gerrard or Paul Scholes, in that type of character. He's too good. He's 17. He's too good for the under-18s, and he's bossing the under-23s. So the point is, he's on the bench now at the moment, because we've got lack of players, but he's on the bench frequently. You've got Harvey White, who is probably Tottenham's equivalent of James Ward-Prowse in terms of he's one of the best dead ball specialists, probably the best dead ball specialist in the entire club. You've got young players out on loan at the moment, like Niall John, who will eventually, if he's given an opportunity, can become a world beater as well. Malachi Fagan Walcott as well as a big centre-half. Brilliant. There's two strikers we've got out on loan at the moment in Troy Parrott and Keon Atete, who in their own rights are tearing up the lower leagues, whether they're not scoring goals or assisting, but they're doing stuff to help the teams. Are they ever going to get an opportunity? And it pisses me off, because you've got someone like Dane Scarlett, who they think, Tottenham are so confident that he will be the next Harry Kane. It was Troy Parrott a few years ago, now it's Dane Scarlett. And there is another one below Dane Scarlett who has just signed his first professional contract with Tottenham, and they think he'll be the next Harry Kane. So we've got three of the next Harry Kanes in our club, but we're not giving them the opportunity. Against Middlesbrough, it took 116 minutes to bring on Dane Scarlett. This is a striker you trust with the future of Tottenham going forward as a striking position. He's quick, he's strong, he can hold the ball up, and he's got a lethal left foot and a lethal right foot as well. But if you don't give him opportunity, he's going to end up in League One, in League Two with Sunderland. We're going to sell him like we did Dennis Serkin to Sunderland, which was a shocking decision in our part to sell him. He's doing brilliantly at Sunderland, and I'm well happy for him. But I don't want that to happen to the youngsters that we've got. We're looking for creativity in that middle two. Bring in Alfie Devine. Look at Harvey White and stuff like that. The amount of opportunity. We win so many free kicks, whether it's Son beating people, Decky beating people, Kane winning fouls. You've then got a proven free kick taker in your ranks, and you just keep him on the bench. Harry Kane cannot take a free kick to save his life, and I don't know why he's even taking free kicks. At this point now, Harry, if you're ever going to find this video, please never take a free kick for Tottenham again. I love you, but please never do it. Son can score free kicks, and Dyer, we know, can score free kicks. He's done it at fucking England. But when you've got players like that in your team, you need to... It's not just about giving them first team opportunities by putting them on the bench or letting them train with the first team. You have to be brutal, and you have to give them the opportunity. Either sink or swim. It's as simple as that. Youngsters nowadays, you look at clubs nowadays that are creating systems to help youth players when they get released, because they never then fulfil their potential. There's players that leave Premier League clubs and end up playing in non-league, and they're having to be supported by it. And the reason why is because they're never given the opportunity to progress at the club. Clubs have an option to play these players.
30 seconds.
Why not play it? No Tottenham fan is going to be unhappy if we take off Harry Winks or Højbjerg and bring on Devine or White, or even, if it comes to it, taking off one of the front, either taking Son or Decky off if they're having bad games, and bringing Scarlett on up front. The problem Tottenham have is we've let so many good, young, promising players go in recent years that any young player now that comes through and has either one or two games, there's a risk they're going to get sold because they're not going to sign a contract. You look at Dylan Markanday in January. This boy was tipped to be the next best winger for us, and we've sold him to fucking Blackburn for £500,000. And do you know what? Next season, I hope Blackburn get promoted, and I hope We play Blackburn at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I hope we win,
none of
but I hope
them
Markinde scores. And do you know what I want him to do is I don't want him to celebrate with the players. I don't want him to put his hand up and say, no, I can't celebrate. I want him to go up to the fucking bench and stick his fingers up at Daniel Levy, to Conte, and to everyone around him and say, you could have given me the opportunity, but you didn't. The other players in that, you've got Marcus Edwards, who's now been signed by Sporting Lisbon of all freaking teams. Noni Madueke, who over the summer we wanted to sign again. How many clubs want to sign a youth player that they released? We let Keenan Bennett go to Borussia Mönchengladbach. We let a lad called Richards go to Lyon. You know, these were all players that were meant to be world beaters, and we just let them go. They tore up the youth teams. And they were too good for them, but they were never given the opportunities. And managers nowadays, whether it's an age thing or what, they need to look at the academies more, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you've got a state-of-the-art academy, because the players you've got in there, whether they're 15, 16, 17, 18, or even schoolboys, they're never going to play for the club because managers don't trust them. And if you don't trust a player, why do you keep them in your ranks? I'm done. I'm rant over. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. I will see you in another video.
Mate,
Peace.
this shotgun has fuck all range.
Literally just spawned into thermite.
Sorry, I couldn't see. I just saw someone running at me.
I wasn't far off.